When he raised his hand, he thought he was simply scratching his nose. Auctioneer Richard, however, saw this as a $15,000 bid. Mr. Bean's visit to heritage auctions had begun as a curious exploration of antique items and historical artifacts, having been invited by his neighbour Mrs. Patterson, who collected Victorian-era memorabilia, and had suggested that Bean might find the auction atmosphere educational and entertaining. Bean approached the impressive Heritage Auctions Gallery with characteristic curiosity, mixed with cultural uncertainty, noting the formal atmosphere, well-dressed attendees examining catalogue descriptions, and the sophisticated auction environment that represented decades of fine art and antique trading expertise. Heritage Auctions occupied a prestigious Georgian building that had been carefully restored to maintain its historical character, while housing state-of-the-art auction facilities, including professional lighting systems, bidding registration technology, and carefully climate-controlled storage areas for valuable items. Richard Morrison, Heritage Auctions senior auctioneer with over 20 years of experience conducting high-value sales, immediately recognized Bean's obvious unfamiliarity with auction protocols when he entered the viewing room and began examining items with innocent curiosity, rather than the calculated assessment typical of serious collectors. The pre-auction viewing period allowed potential bidders to examine items closely, review condition reports, and establish bidding strategies for pieces they intended to pursue during the actual auction proceedings, though Bean approached this process with tourist-like wonder rather than commercial intent. Bean registered for bidding primarily to satisfy the administrative requirements for attending the auction, receiving paddle number 47 and basic instructions about bidding procedures, though he didn't fully grasp the financial implications of participating in competitive auction environments. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Heritage Auctions' monthly Fine Arts and Antiques sale, Richard announced from the podium with the commanding presence that experienced auctioneers developed through years of managing high-stakes bidding competitions. Today we present exceptional pieces spanning 3 centuries of craftsmanship and artistry. Bean settled into seat number 23, surrounded by serious collectors, including Clara Thompson, a porcelain specialist who attended monthly auctions seeking rare pieces for her museum-quality collection, and James Wellington, an antique furniture dealer who purchased items for his prestigious London showroom. The auction catalogue featured over 60 lots, ranging from delicate porcelain and silverware to substantial furniture pieces and artwork, each accompanied by detailed provenance documentation and professional condition assessments that guided experienced bidders' valuation decisions. Lot number 1, an exceptional Meissen porcelain dinner service, circa 1750, comprising 42 pieces in pristine condition, Richard announced, while the auction assistants displayed the ornate dinner set under professional lighting that highlighted its intricate, hand-painted decorative elements. Bean observed the bidding process with fascination, noting how experienced collectors communicated their bids through subtle hand gestures, nods, and eye contact that Richard interpreted with practiced precision during the rapid-fire competitive exchanges. The opening bid started at $2,000, quickly escalating as 3 serious collectors competed for the rare porcelain set, with Richard orchestrating the bidding sequence while maintaining clear communication about current price levels and remaining active bidders. During the excitement of watching his first auction lot, Bean unconsciously adjusted his position in his chair and inadvertently touched his nose, a gesture that Richard immediately interpreted as a bid entry at the current level of $8,500. New bidder, paddle 47 at $8,500, Richard announced, recognizing Bean's accidental entry into the bidding competition. "Do I hear $9,000?" Bean realized with growing alarm that his casual movement had somehow committed him to purchasing an expensive porcelain set. Though he didn't immediately understand how to withdraw from the bidding process without causing disruption to the ongoing auction. Clara Thompson, recognizing Bean's obvious confusion and inexperience, leaned over to whisper helpful guidance about auction etiquette and procedures for managing unintended bids, demonstrating the community support that often existed among regular auction attendees. "I can see you're new to this," Clara observed quietly. "If you didn't mean to bid, just keep your paddle down and avoid any hand movements until the lot concludes. Richard will understand." Bean gratefully followed Clara's advice, remaining perfectly still while other bidders continued, competing for the porcelain set, though he continued to feel anxious about the potential financial consequences of his accidental participation. The porcelain set eventually sold to an experienced collector for $12,000, allowing Bean to avoid an expensive mistake, while providing him with valuable education about the importance of understanding bidding protocols before participating in auction environments. Lot number 15, a Victorian mahogany writing desk with brass inlays and secret compartments, circa 1860, Richard continued, presenting a substantial piece of furniture that immediately captured Bean's genuine interest due to its intricate craftsmanship and mysterious hidden features. Bean found himself legitimately interested in the writing desk's mechanical complexity and historical significance, though he remained cautious about expressing this interest through any physical movements that might be misinterpreted as bidding signals. Sarah Mitchell, Heritage Auctions, Client Services Coordinator who had been observing Bean's earlier confusion, approached his seat during a brief intermission to provide additional guidance about auction participation and bidding procedures. "First time at auction?" Sarah inquired with professional helpfulness. "I can show you the proper hand signals and explain how to participate safely if you're interested in any upcoming lots." Bean appreciated Sarah's guidance and received a brief tutorial about deliberate bidding gestures, withdrawal signals, and the timing considerations that governed successful auction participation, information that increased his confidence about engaging with the process. The Victorian writing desk opened with bidding at $1,500, attracting interest from several furniture dealers and private collectors who appreciated both its functional design and historical significance as a representative example of mid-19th century craftsmanship. Bean followed the bidding competition with educated interest, having developed genuine appreciation for the desk's quality during the pre-auction viewing, though he remained uncertain about appropriate valuation for such pieces and his own financial capacity for acquisition. When bidding reached $4,000 and appeared to be concluding between two remaining competitors, Bean made his first intentional bid by clearly raising his paddle and maintaining eye contact with Richard until his participation was acknowledged. "New bidder, paddle 47 at $4,200, Richard announced, noting Bean's careful and deliberate entry into the competition. "Do I hear 4,400? Bean's entrance into the bidding created a three-way competition that continued for several additional rounds, with each participant increasing their offers in measured increments, while Richard maintained clear communication about the current high bid and remaining active competitors. James Wellington, one of the original bidders for the writing desk, appreciated Bean's obvious, genuine interest in the piece rather than purely commercial motivation, recognizing that passionate collectors often provided the most competitive bidding dynamics. The bidding eventually reached $6,800, at which point Bean found himself as the highest bidder when the other two competitors withdrew from the competition, making him the successful purchaser of his first auction lot. "Sold to Paddle 47 for $60,800, Richard announced, while bringing his gavel down to finalize the sale. "Congratulations on acquiring a beautiful example of Victorian craftsmanship." Bean felt simultaneously excited about owning the elegant writing desk and anxious about the financial commitment he had undertaken, though Clara assured him that his successful bid represented fair market value for such a high-quality piece. As the auction continued, Bean observed several more lots with educated interest, while carefully avoiding any unintentional gestures that might be interpreted as bidding signals, having learned to appreciate the auction process without necessarily participating in every competition. The final lot of the day featured a rare pocket watch collection from the 1920s, including several pieces with complicated mechanical movements that reminded Bean of the vintage toys he had recently discovered at Nostalgia Toys during his previous adventure. Bean's genuine fascination with mechanical timepieces led him to examine the pocket watches carefully during the viewing period and ultimately decide to participate in the bidding, representing his second intentional auction purchase. The watch collection attracted significant interest from horological specialists and collectors, creating a competitive bidding environment that required Bean to make strategic decisions about his maximum acceptable price level. Bean successfully acquired 2 vintage pocket watches for a combined total of $3,200, feeling satisfied with his purchases while recognizing that he had exceeded his originally planned budget through his unexpected enthusiasm for quality craftsmanship and historical artifacts. Richard approached Bean after the auction concluded to congratulate him on his successful purchases and provide information about payment procedures, shipping arrangements, and heritage auction services for new collectors interested in future sales. "You showed good judgment today," Richard observed while completing Bean's purchase documentation. "The writing desk and pocket watches represent excellent examples, and your bidding strategy demonstrated developing collector instincts." Bean reflected on his unexpected transformation from curious observer to active auction participant, recognizing that the experience had provided valuable education about art history, craftsmanship evaluation, and competitive market dynamics. Bean departed, Heritage Auctions feeling accomplished about successfully navigating the auction environment, confident that future sales would benefit from his improved understanding of bidding procedures, though he resolved to establish clearer budget parameters for future collecting activities.